Hello, welcome to the THC Show. I'm your host Neil Magnuson, and this is the show where we talk about truth, hope, and change. And in truth, we're hoping that the changes that are coming, and they seem to be coming swiftly, are going to be beneficial to us. On the show today, we're going to have 8 out of 10 Glenn, of course, from CannaMatch.ca or CannaMatch.com, depending on where you are. We're going to have updates about the CSP protest tent. And the plan today is to do some interviews with people, just brief testimonials from people that we'll find out at the tent today. We want to put a bunch of that together. As you know, if you've been following the show, we are on a quest for stores that would have low barrier access to cannabis, especially high dose edibles, but all the cannabis and good quality cannabis in forms that people could use in a variety of different ways and at affordable prices, so that the daily users and the medical users are looked after. And that is what is lacking in Trudeau's legalization, is any accommodation for the poor people or the sick people and the people that need to use cannabis on a daily basis, or even want to for whatever reason. Unless they have a whole bunch of money, they can't afford cannabis at the government stores. And it's always been the case that cannabis was expensive for people, in any case on the underground marketplace, because, people had to look after having some sort of a legal fund put aside, or worried about whatever, or that's the money, the price point that worked, where people were willing to risk, their liberty and their possessions and the rest of it to get people cannabis. So it's time that with legalization, we have legalization that works for people, that works for the people that are really in need of it, especially, and for those people that can't afford it. So we've been pursuing that through a program called the Cannabis Substitution Program, and that was started over 5 years ago, where we recognized the emergency that was happening within the public realm to do with the poison drug supply, and so many people dying from fentanyl overdoses and overdoses to do with other drugs where fentanyl was involved in most cases. And having already learned years before that cannabis high-dose edibles can be very effective in helping people get through withdrawal, we started the Cannabis Substitution Program, which was designed to get cannabis to people that needed it as easily as possible, and that was accomplished by just giving it away, by going to the Vandu advocacy group for users and handing out care packs of cannabis. The program started, like I said, 5 years ago. For a year, we gave it away once a week, every Saturday. Then for the next 2.5 years, we gave it away every Thursday and every Sunday. Hundreds of people lined up every time to get their care packs. Because of that and the success that we had, Dr. M.J. Malloy sent researchers down to study our program and other things as well, that led him to write numerous papers, dozens of peer-reviewed papers on the efficacy of cannabis and the safety of cannabis as a replacement therapy. City Council paid attention to that. It was a couple of years, or 2.5 years into our program, that the City Council finally decided to support us and passed a motion unanimously to support low barrier access. Buoyed by that, we got a storefront. The storefront was beautiful and exactly what people needed in this neighborhood, but unfortunately would not be licensed by the city without licenses from Health Canada. So we submitted licenses to Health Canada almost 2 years ago now. Still, waiting for Health Canada, although the negotiations have heated up a little bit. We were told a month ago that we had 30 days to respond to their intent to deny. And we were in the process of doing that when the VPD raided the RV that we'd been using for over 1.5 years, since we could no longer stay in the store that we were in, and we moved into this RV, and we've been out front there supplying people for the last 1.5 years from that. The VPD swooped in on us 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday, on a show day, and seized the RV, charged myself and 2 others with trafficking against the Cannabis Act. We don't understand why this happened. This makes no sense to us. This is insane. We have tried to do everything right from the beginning. I went to City Council, I went to the Vancouver Police Board before we started the program. As soon as we knew we had to get licenses from Health Canada, we put together a great application That should have been very quickly processed and accepted. In fact, we also put together or sent with that application an application for an emergency temporary exemption from the Cannabis Act so that we could continue in the store while Health Canada worked on the licenses. But that didn't happen either. And it's the complete negligence of the federal government in processing our application in a timely fashion, giving us the support that is needed to continue and facilitate this program, that has resulted in all the problems that we're having at this time. And it's resulted in us definitely not being able to reach the numbers of people that we should have been able to had we had that government support. And in that case, we're talking about people that are now dead as a result of the negligence on part of government with respect to this file. And maybe it's far more than negligence that's going on. Why won't the federal government quickly realize what everybody in this neighborhood realizes, is that the access to cannabis, especially the high-dose edibles, is critical in helping people offset the use of the other drugs that are killing people here. Why won't the federal government realize that? And when we look back on our experience with the Health Canada and the federal government in this, well, they've done nothing but delay, make excuses, and now a month ago come up with 2 reasons that they say are valid enough to not allow this program to continue, which would definitely put the lives of all the members of this program at risk. There's over 260 people, plus there's hundreds more that access us every day here. It would put all those people at risk of death. So the federal government, in their delays, have definitely killed people. It's murder, in my opinion. I don't know what else to say. They have never come to us and said, we're working on this, and here's an area of concern. How can we deal with possible diversion? How can we possibly deal with what you're going to do with respect to taxation and accessing by young people, or any of those things? In fact, they've never posed any issue to us at all. Other than to say that it was complicated at one point in discussions with Health Canada, and at another point they said that they were concerned that if they gave the licenses to us, that there would be other people that would want those same licenses, and they saw that as a bad thing. And that's it. I mean, Health Canada does not appear to be the least bit concerned about the actual health and well-being of the people in this neighborhood. These are the vulnerable people of Canada here on the downtown east side, the visible ones that we're dealing with. These are the people that have been traumatized in their life through government policies along the way and other things that have happened. These are the people that we would like to have our public servants be most concerned with respect to the health of our society. And yet Health Canada has had no conversations with us about what to do in a way to get a license. Now, this latest letter that they sent, that they have at least given us 30 days to respond to, is suggesting that the barriers that are going to prevent us from getting that license are twofold. One, that the supply that we have is not completely licit. Although, there's craziness around those legalities and non-legalities about, all the people that are providing us with cannabis high-dose edibles through the program and are donating those things. Those people are using the cannabis that they're allowed to have. In some cases, these are people that have medical licenses to grow more than just the 4 plants that everybody's allowed to have in a household if the landlord says it's okay or whatever. But, so that I'm sure is considered licit. In the quantities that they're providing us, there's some illicitness with respect to regulations with regards to the transportation of larger amounts than 30 grams at a time, or the equivalents in edibles. But, We've suggested that, there's a number of different ways that Health Canada could address that issue with us. I mean, they could allow for the licensed producers to provide us with the cannabis that they're otherwise having to destroy because it's over what they're allowed to produce. The dispensaries that are required to destroy the cannabis that is in the packages that they buy, once they've opened those packages to inspect them or for whatever other reason, there is quite a bit of cannabis actually being destroyed in the legal marketplace by regulation. And we think that Health Canada could allow for that cannabis to be diverted to programs like ours that are addressing this public health emergency of an overdose death epidemic here. So, yeah, you know, we're not very convinced that Health Canada actually cares about trying to make it work for us and get us licenses that would work, because they haven't had any discussions about how we could make our supply completely legal. You know, we think that the suppliers that have been helping us for these 5 years have demonstrated that what they're providing us with is safe. We've had no complaints, we've had no problems, and so there shouldn't be a problem in Health Canada having some sort of requirements for these people that are reasonable, or some way to assess them, or just go on our word, because, you know, we've got this track record. We've been documenting that we've given out literally hundreds of pounds worth of cannabis provided to us by these suppliers that care about trying to help us with this problem here, in many cases because they themselves have in some way been touched by the overdose death crisis. So it shouldn't be too big of a problem to figure out how to get our supply legal. And if it is too much of a problem, then, you know, that's a big barrier. And what we're advocating for and what we're asking for is low barrier access, and not just low barrier access for the public to cannabinoids that would help them, especially help them avoid death in this public health emergency, but low barrier access for the suppliers that would like to be taking part in this. That there shouldn't be much of a barrier in way of people doing that, unless there's been some previous record of having grown some cannabis that actually caused problems for people, which I don't think ever happened before legalization. But other than that, especially when suppliers have been supplying a program like ours with good, high-quality organic cannabis for helping people get off of opioids and dealing with the underlying drivers of addiction, which are lack of sleep and lack of proper nutrition, anxiety, trauma, depression, pain, all of those sorts of things. Well, you know, where is there a problem that would require eliminating that as a source for us if that's the only source that we can get, or even if it isn't? There's no justification or reason for any of this that would make sense if their concern was for helping the people that are being helped so greatly by cannabis. The second reason that Health Canada says that they can't give us permission to help people the way that we want or know that it needs to happen is because we're providing cannabis in the form of high-dose edibles to people that don't have a doctor to support their use of such things, which is complete lunacy. I mean, we're talking about rescuing people from drug addiction, people who are impoverished in the first place, living in precarious housing is how they like to put it. We call it being homeless. But people that are in great difficulty would face many barriers in accessing an actual doctor that would help them. We've got a doctor shortage going on here in Canada, where it's estimated that 3 million Canadians can't get access to a family doctor. And here on the downtown east side, you know, the percentages of people that are having trouble getting a doctor are much higher than in even mainstream society. And even in mainstream society, it's really difficult to find a doctor that'll even talk about cannabis. Only 5% of Canadian doctors are prescribing or writing scripts that would allow their patients to access cannabis. So, I mean, that kind of tells you right there that the doctors aren't interested. And for us to have to get all the people that we're helping to have a doctor supporting those decisions, I mean, that's near impossible. That is going to abandon a large amount of people, thousands and thousands of people and more, you know, right across Canada, will not still be able to access cannabis in reasonable ways because they can't get a doctor to support them. We're talking about full-grown consenting adults that have otherwise chosen to use heroin and crystal meth and crack cocaine and alcohol and prescription drugs, and now they're not going to be able to try to get off of those things with high-dose edibles because the government's going to restrict access to those high-dose edibles and not allow them to without having a doctor support their choice. This is ludicrous, and it's killing people. So, you know, we have in the last 2 weeks been operating since the police raid from a tent, from a rally tent, with tables set up and protest signs hanging, and a stream of people coming by all day long that are shocked about what's happened to us. They can't believe that the police would actually take our RV, let alone charge us. These people have provided us with dozens and dozens of letters voicing their concerns and panic about the lack of cannabis that's available. That's a huge stack of letters in 2 weeks. We're right close to 1,000 signatures now on our petition asking that we can get our RV back and continue to provide the service that we had been. About 1,000 people in under 2 weeks, just at one station out here on the street under our tent. 1,000 people just like that. Everyone is shocked. This neighborhood is horrified by what's happening. They think they're being abandoned by their government. They think their governments are trying to kill them. That's the talk amongst people here. We've had people tell us that without access to cannabis, they will have no choice but to have to go back to other substances to deal with their issues. Because these are people that have issues. These are your aunts and uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins, moms, dads, sons, daughters that have been traumatized in their life. They've suffered serious injury or are suffering from chronic pain because of debilitating health defects or traumatic injuries that have happened in car accidents and in the workplace and other things like that. These are the people that in your family you care about the most. That your family is willing to bond together and help because they understand the circumstances of what happened on that Friday night in the rainy early morning hours when that drunken driver, you know what I mean? We're dealing with people that are messed up real bad. They're hurting. We're helping them. They come to us all day long and thank us from the bottoms of their heart. They don't know how to express it enough. They tell us about how they're sleeping, how the pain has subsided when they're using the cannabis that we give them. It's 4:19. Probably good timing. But it's horrible murder that's going on here. And it's a corrupt government that's behind it. And the best harm reduction option available during this public health emergency is now in crisis because the governments have seen fit to send their bully cops after us, seize our equipment, seize our medicine, and strike fear into the hearts of the most vulnerable and already traumatized people in our society. I can't imagine what could be worse. But we'll talk more about it as we go on. It's time, thankfully, for that amazing time of the day where we take a moment's break from the stress of life to imbibe in some of the magical vapors of the sacred herb that has been demonized, stigmatized, and prohibited at great public expense for almost 100 years in Canada now. And it's gotten to this point where it's so corrupt that they're willing to murder people to protect the interests of a bunch of rich, corporate, greedy bastards. It's 4:20, so Glenn Wells is here. That's what that means, although it didn't mean that last week, so we welcome Glenn back after his excursion back east.
Yeah.
To the far east. What did you find in the far east of Canada?
My mom's half-brother.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I get a little emotional
I know,
sometimes.
it's all right, no problem. I was going to pass you a Kleenex.
And I'm really emotional about this.
Well, I would be just as emotional as you are.
Try reading these letters.
Actually more.
Try reading these letters. See if you don't get emotional.
Why don't we pick one up and read it?
No,
No?
I can't do it.
Well, we don't have to.
I just right now I can't do it. Right now I need a puff.
All right, let's puff.
But I'll tell you,
Cheers.
the Prime Minister should read them.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Benoit Seguin should read them. John Horgan should read them.
Yep. Them health minister, what is that? The mental health minister, they should read them too.
Sheila Malcolmson.
Yep. And it's like some people are
Carolyn
saying,
Bennett.
they just want the money from them being on
Don
the
Davies.
opioids, right? They don't care about them
These
getting
people
out.
that are making decisions about the people in this neighborhood and the people right across Canada in every level of society, making decisions about those people, talking through holes in their heads,
Yep.
taking money from corrupt corporations to, or hopeful maybe they just hope that they can get money down the road from these corporations if they toe the line, eh? I don't know what it is.
Well, I think they're
But
getting
it's
paid.
corrupt as can be.
Oh, yeah. And it's sad that they have to be that way. You know? Like,
Yeah, they should be forced to read these letters. They should be forced to sit with us for a day and listen to the stories and see the people around us.
Yeah. Too bad you just can go live every day, just have a little camera up in the corner.
I suppose we could, maybe we should now.
Right? Just, but then you'd have to let everybody know.
Yeah,
It's a live broadcast, right?
because we're still playing the game.
Yeah.
We're still, keeping the bags out of sight.
Oh, yeah?
Don't want to have scales around.
No.
Don't want to do anything visible that they might see that there's people that actually are so desperate to get, what they can't get anywhere else, that they're going to come to us under a tent and, offer us some money to get some cannabis, you know. Gotta hide that. Can't be making money. Can't present the government with a business model where nobody gets rich, but the people get what they need, and the people really need it, and have the government okay that, apparently.
And saving lives, right?
Yeah, we're talking life or death situations. Yep. This is life or death.
Yep. Oh, definitely.
We've lost so many people already. How many of those people could have been saved? I mean, I had a fella here today that lost his brother a couple of years ago now to this crisis.
Yeah.
He said, man, if there'd have been you guys here, if there'd have been a store he could have walked into, if he could have easily got cannabis in the form of high-dose edibles, he would have.
Yeah.
He would still be here.
Oh, he would still be here, yeah.
We lost Alan Sayers.
Yep.
We've lost brilliant
so many
people.
Yeah.
Wonderful people that had lots left to give.
My family.
Young people.
My family lost a half-sister. And my kids lost a half-sister to it, so we all know. And her boy doesn't have a mom anymore. Thomas.
How much more is it going to take, eh? How corrupt can they be? When will it finally get to a point where enough is enough? That they've got enough money, or that they've killed enough people?
Mm-hmm.
When
I don't
will
think
enough
there will
be
ever
enough?
be enough. I don't think greed has enough.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. It's just more after more. Well, we spent some, so we need to make some more. Or we spent some, so we need to make more, right? We have to keep our level.
You can't tell me the pharmaceutical companies need to make more.
I know.
That they can't afford to give back,
Yeah.
But their model's not built on that. Our model is built on that. Our model of how to finance an operation where the people get what they need at affordable prices in ways that make sense to them involves everybody getting paid.
Yep.
Involves being able to pay your rent and pay the tax man and pay everybody else without anybody getting rich.
Yep.
The government is supporting these stores, these government stores, where everybody thinks they're going to get rich. in the cannabis world, they all think they're going to get rich. That's why they're in it.
Yep.
They can see it. Holy shit.
Yep.
You can get $4,480 for 1 pound of a fruit that would, you know, that is as easy to bring to market as are other fruits and vegetables. Like, wow.
I know.
And the government's going to pay for the protection of that particular monopoly that we're going to set up. Wow. I don't even have to put money out of my pocket to pay for that. The taxpayers are all going to do it. I mean, what a scheme.
Yeah.
So many people jumped into that. They could see it. Wow. If the government can pull this off, if they can actually enforce everybody else out of the marketplace and take it over, and then maintain those high prices and even higher,
everybody will get rich.
Wow, people are going to get really rich.
Yep.
Really rich. Already, a whole bunch of people, since legalization, have gotten really rich.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing these big companies have all kinds of financial trouble. They're selling off their assets. They're laying people off. They're coming in with quarterly reports or year-end reports about losing a whole bunch of money.
Yep.
But guess what? That's shareholders that lost that money.
Yeah.
Because those are public companies. And the people at the top that set that all up, they're not losing any money.
No.
They're got all that money.
Yep.
They're the ones who paid all that money for all of that infrastructure and all that equipment and technology, and they got all that money, and then the shareholders lose.
Yeah.
And they take off in their private jets and go and live somewhere, where the sun shines all the time.
Yeah, and don't have to worry about the poor people they took their money from.
So the government's got this idea that it's okay to protect the interests of people that think that they can get rich off of the public. And okay, so they're not getting rich off of sick people because they made sure to say that what they're doing is non-medical. Except.
And aren't you preventing crimes too? Because
big time.
People are getting their cannabis and not having to do crime to get their hard drugs.
Exactly.
Right? I used to say, when I was panhandling, I used to say, prevent the crime, spare some change.
There you go.
When people would go, what do you mean? Well, I'm not out breaking into your house today.
Yeah.
I'm standing here asking you for some change, right? And I would get some good chuckles. And I would get some
that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, right.
And you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Like every dose of cannabis that we get into the hands of these people that are otherwise going to take something else, that replaces the dose that they were otherwise going to take.
Yep.
And it's got all that ripple effect down the road where, like you say, they're not going to be committing the crime.
Yeah.
They're not going to be as unhealthy
Yep.
as they are. So there's not going to be a medical emergency.
Exactly.
We got 100 ambulances a day going out in this city to deal with all the overdoses.
And fire department
There's
too,
6 deaths a day,
Yep.
but there's a whole bunch of people that overdose every day and don't die. And that takes a whole bunch of our resources and tax dollars. Mm-hmm. We're supporting this huge, money pit that's going on to do with addiction, all driven by bad policy from government. That's it. Bad drug policy caused the addiction epidemic in the first place. The addiction epidemic has resulted now in the death overdemic of the overdose epidemic that's going on right now. All of those things are excruciatingly costly for our society. The loss of manpower through drug addiction, the loss of family, or the cost to families because of drug addiction, all of these things driven by an opioid crisis that was perpetrated upon us by Purdue Pharma and other pharmaceutical companies and doctors who fell for the stories of how this OxyContin wasn't addictive. That's willful blindness is what that is, that they're happy to hear from their pharmaceutical representative that this opioid isn't going to be as addictive as the other opioids, so go ahead and push this one real hard, right? Didn't do much due diligence, because why would they? It's not in their interests, right? Everything's about what's in people's interests around here. And helping poor people isn't in the interests of the rich people. It doesn't get them anything. So let's let those people die off. Let's help them die off. Yep. Let's make sure they got lousy nutrition. Let's make sure they can't sleep at night. Let's make sure they can't get a doctor. Homeless for sure. Yep. All of these barriers and all of these pitfalls and potholes that they put in the road to success for people are there on purpose, because the rich are not interested, because it's not in their interest to help the poor people.
Can't make money off the poor people, right?
It's in the interest of families to help their families. Hey, landlord, you don't want to say nothing?
No, you're busy. Another day.
All right, well, I'll make sure I talk about this coming up and show people your thing. So it's not in the rich people's interest to help these poor people, but it's in the interests of families to help their family members. If you care about somebody, it's in your interest to help them. And we as a whole society, all of us with a conscience and with ethics and morals, understand that as a society, just as in a family, it is the weakest amongst us that we need to be concerned about. The ones that have got the natural abilities, the ones that are smart, that have gotten through their adolescence without too much trauma, they're going to be okay. You know? It's those ones that didn't make it. It's those ones that were born with something not quite right, or suffered something along the way that nobody should have to suffer. Oh. We all care about those people in our families. We know who they are. We know why they struggle. We can look at the people, if we're honest, in our families that have gotten in trouble with drug addiction, and we can see where that came from. We know that there was the episode that happened to them where they had to get put on some sort of heavy opioid by their doctors because there was who knows what, right? I mean, I don't need to pick any examples. Yeah. There's just shit that happens to people, right?
There's lots of shit.
So we know that about our family members, that there was stuff that happened to so and so, and so we care a little more for them. We make sure they're looked after. The uncles that look after the nephews that have had a tough time of it. You know, the grandmothers that know that some of their grandchildren didn't get as lucky a break as some of the other ones, and they're there for them.
Yeah.
That's what families do.
That's what families do.
And that's what society does when society, is functioning properly. We care about the vulnerable ones. We got a lot of people that didn't make it through most of their life without trauma. They're doing the best they can in a corrupt world where they're pushed onto opioid drugs that addict them.
Yeah.
And then they find themselves in a system where they can't get through withdrawal because nobody wants to get them through withdrawal. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Lots of people want to get you into treatment. They got treatment for you.
You can't use cannabis during withdrawal.
Well, you can, but it's not easy, and that's our point.
They've been told that it's not good for you, right? Whereas it's probably, we could get a lot more people through withdrawal with cannabis, save a lot more lives, have a lot more people not relapse because they have cannabis. All right? So
it's the message we've been trying to get out since the beginning.
Yeah, it is.
I spend a fair bit of time poking media about what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Because we want this told. We need it to be public knowledge and common knowledge that high-dose cannabis edibles can get a person off those other drugs.
Yep.
That is so important because there's very little other ways to get off those other drugs. It's really hard.
Yeah.
People have to go through it several times to finally succeed. And they do it because they're desperate as can be.
Yeah.
And that's why they keep trying, even though after they've tried a few times, they know how hard it is. They know the hell that it takes to get off that stuff. So they keep trying, and then they finally end up doing it if they got a good enough support system, or if they have enough, of self will and determination to get her done, they can get through it. But if people knew that high dose edibles is a pretty easy way to get through that if you do it right. You start low, you go slow, you find the right dosage, you can pretty much doze or sleep your way through those first 4 or 5 days of it, and before you know it, you're on the other side.
Yep.
And from there, it's concentrates, it's edibles, it's sometimes just enough to smoke cannabis by that time. It depends. It all depends on what you're dealing with.
You can train your body. If you happen to work 8 hours a day, you can't smoke during it. You can do that because as soon as you get off work, you go smoke that joint, and you're just like, it's nice to do that, And if you're disabled and you're at home all day, then you can smoke all day.
I can safely say I know hundreds of people that have successfully gone through that and will tell you that cannabis saved their life. Hundreds of people that I personally know that have gone through that. We have 260 people in our program that'll tell you that cannabis has saved their life. We get people here coming to our table under our tent every day saying, you guys are saving my life right now. You guys, because of you, I'm clean for 3 months. I hear this all the time, and it keeps us going. It drives me to being crazy because if the government actually cared, then, and if they actually heard this stuff and could read these letters and could, then holy smokes, would they ever support us? But instead, we wait and we get excuses and delays and we don't get the license and we're still out in an RV and we go through the winter and we go through the summer and we go through another winter and here now we're raided and now we're out under a tent in the cold and the wind and the rain and the heat and who knows what else is coming for us. But I don't find it sustainable. I don't think that we can last out there under a tent for very much longer. So I don't know what's going to resolve that. I'm waiting to see what develops. I'm hoping that some organization, I just pleaded today with the city. I wrote a long letter to Rebecca Bly, the city councillor that passed the motion.
Where's the RV? Can we get the RV back?
The RV is in the government, in the VPD garage.
Yeah.
They say they're going to keep it for 90 days.
Yeah.
That's their right. And they say that, there's a good chance we never get it back because it's going to be deemed proceeds of crime or having been used in the commission of a crime. Ludicrous nonsense. A crime is intentionally causing harm to people.
Yeah.
It's not intentionally addressing a public health emergency by providing an option for people who are stuck on hard drugs. I mean, I am not a criminal. I am not a criminal.
Yeah.
And if the VPD is going to actually do some investigation into what's going on here, they'll see that we, step by step, did everything right as best we could. I'm told, well, you shouldn't have been doing it without a license. We started this 5 years ago. There was no legalization. There was no license to be had.
Yeah.
There was just a public health emergency that we understood clearly cannabis high-dose edibles could be the answer to.
Yeah.
So we addressed that. I first went to the Vancouver Police Board and told them this is what we have to do for this thing. After going to Vandu, the group that knows more than anybody else about what's necessary to address these things. They gave me unanimous approval at their board to go through and to go forward with that. So I went to the Vancouver City Police Board. I went to City Council and told them. When we started doing it at Vandu, I put up big signs. I had them made up and put big signs up all over my vehicle every time we went there. And every policeman I ever saw while we were there, we talked to, and I continued to lobby City Council to try to give us the support that would help us do the thing properly. And after 2 months of no support and just doing it anyway, and then here we go. So how could we have done it any differently? I don't understand. There is no other way. As soon as we were alerted to here's another way to do it, that's exactly what we did. We have responded to everything that the government has told us we had to do to try to do this the right way. In the meantime, we started a program that we can't stop. It's impossible for us to stop doing what we're doing. We understand that completely. We've got letters from Professor Zachary Walsh, the foremost expert on cannabis replacement therapies, from Dr. M.J. Malloy, and we know it ourselves. We've heard it from the people that we're helping here, that if we're not here helping them, and there's no other access to cannabis in the neighborhood, what are they going to do? But they're going to be saying yes as they walk down the street, and somebody says, "Hey, you want some up? You want some down? You want some this? You want some that?" So we know we can't stop what we started. We need governments to catch up with us and provide us with what we need to continue what we're doing, but to do it even better. And for Health Canada to be worried that there's going to be other people in other communities that are going to want the same license is preposterous. Because of course there's other people that are going to want that same license, because this is the best harm reduction option that there is. And there's other communities that are in trouble like this one is. So, it's just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
It is.
I will say that because of the raid, since then, we have had more media coverage than we've had in all the years of doing this.
CBC, Global, and CBC.
Numerous. There's been lots. And so... and I had a person here yesterday. They run a very popular podcast out of California, and they want a direct connection to me. They want me on an upcoming podcast as well. There's a whole bunch of interest now in what we're doing. The reports that are coming through that I've seen on the media have all been bang on, pretty much completely saying it the way it needs to be said. So great. Let's tell the public that there's this group that has been successfully providing high-dose edibles, getting people off of opioids, and that that'll educate people to know that that's a possibility.
Let's tell the public we can save their loved ones with cannabis. Right?
That's basically there should be a huge demand for high-dose edibles, and that demand should be focused at the government.
cannabis. I said, what if we could save your loved ones?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we can.
Yep.
It can.
It can happen.
You know, it's not universal. Some people are not going to want to do it. Some people love their opioids.
Yep.
Some people are not wanting to quit.
Yep.
For people that want to quit, it's not always easy, even with high-dose cannabis edibles. So our biggest problem is people eat too much.
Yeah.
It's easy to eat too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And with your edibles, they don't have to go to a treatment center. They can do it right at home. Right? So now the public is saving a bit of money because it's not a tax on the health system.
Exactly.
Right? So there's another benefit right there.
And treatment centers should be incorporating
Yeah.
cannabis replacement therapies into their options for people.
I bet you they'd have a better rate of people not relapsing.
But we've gone over this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, the people that are setting up and have these treatment centers going aren't interested in actually curing their people.
Yeah. I used cannabis.
They want them to come back through 6 or 7 times. They just want to keep filling that bed and keep getting that money that fills that bed. People need to keep this in mind. We're not dealing with ethical public servants and moral corporate entities. We're dealing with unethical public servants and immoral corporate entities.
Yep.
And in a perfect world, in even an imperfect world that should be more perfect than this, your public servants would be looking out for you, would be looking out for your family members that find themselves down here. In a somewhat more perfect world, that would be happening. But unfortunately, we're on our own.
Yep.
We've got to look after ourselves. We've got to look after our own families. We understand that we fear governments, we fear police, we fear corporate policies. None of those have our interests in mind.
Yeah.
They have the interest of power, they have the interest of money, and that's what's driving these institutions that really are supposed to be looking after us. If business was doing what business should do to be good business and get good business, they would be looking after their customers, instead of gouging their customers and forcing monopolies amongst the competitors and wiping out competition that would otherwise bring prices down and quality up. So business is not doing what business should do in all levels. There are some that do, some very successful smaller companies, even some bigger companies that do understand those principles of business. But most of them, it's all about the almighty dollar. It's all about greed. It's all about maximizing their bottom lines. And that's it. Yeah. And they don't care who they hurt in the process. They don't care what type of products they're getting into people's hands. They just want to maximize their profits.
Yeah.
So you can't trust them, that's all. Understand that, and it makes life easier to live. If you think you can trust your government, you're going to have some trouble. You're going to find out that justice is really hard to get, that they will delay you, the costs will be, unreachable, the lawyers, the bureaucracy, the phone this department, they tell you got to phone this department, and then you're over to that department, and they transfer you to this department, now you're back to the first department. Yeah. And don't we all know that that's the way it works when you're trying to get something for yourself from government? When they want you, they track you down. They know how to get you, But when you want them, you can't talk to the right person. You can't find that right person. He's not available. It's just
leave a voicemail.
Leave a voicemail. We might get back to you. Write us a letter. We might, oh my God. We have been trying to get government to support what is a life-saving option for people in a public health emergency for almost 2 years.
Crazy, man.
The project for 5 years, if you count trying to get Vancouver City Council on board, took 2.5 years to do that, of us doing it.
Yeah. 2.5
years later, okay, we're going to support you now. So they pass a motion saying they're going to support us. We believe them.
Yeah.
See? Don't trust government. Don't trust government. That was a motion passed with no teeth, with no real intention of doing anything. Nobody responded to it but us.
Yeah.
So the government passed a motion. We will support low barrier access to cannabis for the opioid crisis.
Yeah. But there's no
support. And nobody responded but us.
Yeah.
Myself and Jody Emery and a member of the Green Cross and a member of Vandu's board went and met with Rebecca Bly, the councillor who passed the motion. Very nice meeting. She's a very nice lady. well motivated. Her mother was in need of edibles and couldn't get them through the government options, and so she thought that was crazy, and she wanted to help, and she had some sense of the opioid crisis and what we were doing, and we had Dr. Malloy's studies there, and it was all nice and friendly, and but she said no one else has acted on this, and we know no one else ever has. I guess it's not in people's interest to try to get cheap cannabis to poor people. You look at the LIFT conference, you look at the legalization gold mine or gold rush that's going on here, and everybody's thinking they're going to get rich off of this, Nobody's trying to say, how can we grow cannabis inexpensively to get it to the people that really need it? I wouldn't say nobody, because there are some good souls out there, but I don't know too many of them. What I see is a lot of people clamoring to get into the cannabis space because they've got a way that they can glean a whole bunch of money off of people. And what we need in the cannabis space is a bunch of people who really care about getting the herb to the masses of people, to free our society, to heal our society, to sort the corruption out of our society. We just need to get cannabis to people. That's what we need to do. And so governments are blocking that. You could 4-plant limit. What's the reason for that? What's the good reason for that?
It'll drive you crazy.
You can grow plants. You can grow these dangerous plants that they spent almost 100 years before legalization saying were so dangerous. You can grow 4 of those in your household. They don't say keep them away from your kids.
No.
Because you don't need to keep them away from your kids. And they know it. All the other house plants that you got in your house are way more dangerous to your kids than cannabis ever would be. Your kids start chewing on the leaves or flowers or some of the other plants that you're growing there. They're poisoned. They're off to the poison control center or the emergency. Hopefully they make it. They don't always do. Almost all of the 100 to 120 or so house plants that are common in this area, almost all of them are poisonous. You can't be chewing on any of them.
No.
So, your 4-year-olds running around grabbing stuff and sticking it in their mouth, don't let it be your plants.
No.
Cannabis plant would be okay.
Yes.
So, it's okay to have the plants around the kids. It's okay to have 4 of them. Well, if it's okay to have 4 of them, why isn't it okay to have 14 of them? Or 40 of them? Or 400 of them? Who the hell cares? Who cares? Why would anybody care about that? Oh, they're worth money. They're valuable plants. Oh.
But if everybody
and the government doesn't want you to have very many of them. Why would that be? I thought the government were public servants. I thought money was a good thing. I thought wealth within our society was a good thing. What are these public servants doing? Why can't you have more than 4 cannabis plants? Why would there be a limit? How many blueberry plants can you have? How many roses in your garden?
I know.
Roses are dangerous, man. Keep your kids away from those things. They got prickles on them, big ones. It's ludicrous.
It is.
It's ludicrous.
It is.
At what point is it going to get so ludicrous that finally we can stop it all? Like, come on. It's been the craziest 20 years of my life.
I can't answer that question, Yeah, I know, 20 years.
It was about 18 and a half years ago.
Okay. Well, still, that's a lot.
Well, no, that's how long ago I quit my job for this.
Okay, yeah.
It started getting ludicrous 5 years before that for me.
Okay.
So, 1999.
Yeah.
I've been smoking weed all my life. I've been playing this cat and mouse game with the cops all my life. Stupid. I'm a good human.
Yeah.
I am a self-appointed police or peace officer myself, my whole life. If there's trouble, I'll try to stop that trouble.
Yeah.
If there's somebody kicks a garbage can into the middle of the street, I'm going to go pick it up and put it back to the side so nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
I'm a good human being because I decided I could be, and that was attractive to me.
Yeah.
So I made those choices. I didn't start out that way.
Yeah.
I started out getting into all kinds of trouble. I was stealing cigarettes and smoking cigarettes at 10 years of age because, religious parents that didn't understand a rebellious kid and a society that, peer pressure and all the rest of it. You know, I grew up in East Vancouver. It was just the way to be a kid there, and that's what you did. And I wasn't mature enough to be aware enough of, you know, how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
But at some point I did become aware about, hey, how do I want to live my life? Who do I want to be as a human being? Well, I want to be a good guy. Mm-hmm. That's who I want to be.
Makes you feel good.
Makes me feel good. I think it's attractive to women, and that was probably my number one driver. I want to be attractive to women, so I'm going to be a good guy. Apparently ladies like the bad boys, but I got some nice women in my life anyway, being a good guy. You know, but I still want to be a good guy.
Isabel and I just saw the movie The Bad Guys.
Oh, yeah?
It's about some dogs, a cat, or no, a snake, and that, who are all, you know, in society looked at all wolf as a bad person, right?
Right.
And then they become good guys.
Right.
And the wolf does something good, and he gets his shiver through his fur, and his tail starts wagging, and they're trying to resist this, right? But yeah, doing good makes you feel good.
Does.
Right? Yeah.
So I wanted to be a good guy.
You don't have to do, like, you buy somebody a car. You can even tell somebody a good joke and make them laugh, and you've just done something good because you made them laugh, right?
As long as you're not choosing to hurt somebody,
Yeah.
to kick somebody who's down, laugh at somebody who's less fortunate than you, you know, you can be a good person every moment of your life.
Yep.
You know, if you choose to look at the situations in ways that are from your heart, you can be a good person all your life.
Yep.
So I wanted to be a good guy, but here I am. I'm a cannabis consumer, and I wasn't going to stop that because I knew it helped me. I knew the laws were wrong. I didn't understand why quite the laws were wrong, but I knew they were. And then comes my son wants to smoke a joint with his dad, and I'm like, oh, damn, now you're going to play this stupid game with the cops and, you know, have to be an actual criminal. To be a criminal in society, eh?
Yeah.
That's what I was. Still am.
Still am, too.
That's what I am. I'm a criminal in society. I don't want to be a fucking criminal.
What?
But because I know I'm not a criminal, because I know I'm a good guy, I wear those accusations as badges and trophies. You want to call me a bad guy for being a good guy? Okay. I know what you're really saying. You're really saying I'm a good guy. All right. Call me a bad guy. But I'm a good guy. And once... You know, once I was so upset about it with learning that. I mean, you know what happened? I told the story of my son turned 16. I'm like, oh my God, now you're going to be a criminal. We see a poster protesting the pot laws on a post on April 20th. We go there. This is 1999. I quit my job 5 years later because I read, you know, The Emperor Wears No Clothes during the herb school renovation. And that's 18 and a half years ago. And now I get to choose to be a great guy.
Yeah.
Because how does that feel? Like, holy shit.
I know. Well, we just
you
know.
Like, I got a taste of this early on about, well, hey, I got to do it at 420.
Yeah.
I got to go around to the dispensaries and say, hey, I got a deal for you. I'll promote you, which I know is valuable to you.
Yeah.
You just give me some weed, which I know comes easy to you. And then I got to get it rolled up by people who loved rolling joints.
The holy rollers.
And then we threw them out to people just for free. I mean, holy shit. You know how many people patted me on the back for that and said, hey, man, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, I like getting thanked. I mean, I'm not crazy about it. I'm a little bit actually embarrassed by it sometimes. But, hell, it sure feels good.
It does.
And I can't deny that. And I've tried to work on myself over these years to be able to be more accepting of people, you know, saying thank you to me.
Yeah, sometimes that's even, you know, people say to me, I'm a good dad. I'm just a dad. Right?
Just doing what a dad does.
I'm doing what I think a good dad should do.
Yeah.
But it's hard to accept that I'm being a good dad, sort of, or that you can call me a good dad. I just want to be the best I can do, right? And that's...
Yeah, I've never been looking for the spotlight. I had to accept it begrudgingly, you know, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But,
I wasn't
you know, it became the thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could wrap my head around these concepts that were presented to me with respect to legalization and prohibition through The Emperor Wears No Clothes, through David and you know, his insights and all the rest of the great people in our community here, and I could wrap my brain around that and I could spit it back out. And so that became important. You know, that this is stuff people need to know. Because I didn't understand this throughout most of my life, being a cannabis consumer, you know, just living in the mainstream, raising my family, you know, working in my day job and being a husband. I didn't really understand it. I mean, I knew cannabis shouldn't be illegal. It made no sense to me. I mean, I knew I wasn't a criminal, but I really didn't understand the mechanism that made it illegal and how all that came to be.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the benefits of cannabis in so many ways. Like, I knew I liked it.
Yeah.
It helped me in a number of different ways. It helped me with the stress in my life mostly. You know, you get times when you're raising a family, you've got young kids, and things happen always in everybody's life, and they're stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could smoke a joint.
Mm-hmm.
I could smoke a joint. I could think about it more clearly. I could calm down a little bit. It really helped me like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize its benefit to people with MS, to people that were suffering chronic pain, to people that couldn't sleep at night, and this could be an answer to that. I didn't start to really understand the power of cannabis as medicine, I think, until Butter King came up with butter.
Yeah.
And I got to take that across Canada and expose people to what this amazing medicine is all about. You know, at the very cutting edge of medicine was that tiny little bit of butter on the end of a pin. They didn't dab back in the day. Dab became something later when people got really crazy about stuff.
Hash, you would put on a little piece at the end of the pin and put a glass over top of it.
Yeah, or just inhale it off the pin, you know. But this little bit of butter that you couldn't really see. If there's people out there watching my show here that I met across Canada during the Freedom Tours those years that encountered me with my butter, you'll remember this. That, you know, I would come into this, you know, usually some activist would invite me into their home or we'd have a public meeting of some sort. Other people would be there, and I would get to meet these people that were the medical users of the town. Yeah. And they'd be very interested in coming and talking to me. I had seeds. That's how I financed my Freedom Tours, was by selling seeds at ridiculously low prices compared to what they were elsewhere. And discreetly, so that you didn't have to order them from someplace and give your name and address, and you know, or you didn't have to fly to Vancouver and go in to see a marijuana man at Mark's seed desk or something like that. A lot of people in these small towns were really afraid that anybody would know that they were using cannabis. They wanted to grow their own because they needed a source. Yeah. So for me to come through with seeds, that was very powerful. I found that out, and that helped finance the tours. But I would get to meet these medical users, and so I would have this butter from Butter King, and I'd say, well, okay, you're sitting down, take this glass toker here, and I'd take just a slight, and they'd be like, what do you think? Get out of here! What is that? You know, this is cannabis. What do you? They're used to smoking a 1/4 ounce of ditchweed per session just to get a buzz. No wonder. And they don't think that this little tiny thing that they can't see on the end of a pin is going to do anything for them. You people remember this? Yeah. And then, of course, Mike, Butter King's brother, I don't know if I should be giving away names here, but he's a creative young man at the time, and he came up with a way to modify the torchlighters so that there was a titanium flip down so you could heat that up with and then touch that little pin to that red hot, or just as it's cooling down, and then with the glass toker you get your toker. Well, you know it. Everybody knows now. You know that little tiny bit expands into this huge lung-filling toke. Yeah. And then you blow it out. It's like wow, and you can't get up off the couch. Except I had people in wheelchairs stand up. I had people with tremors like stop shaking. I had so many people tell me the relief they got was just like nothing else they'd experienced before. Yeah. So yeah,
and that's B-U-D-D-E-R. We're not talking about B-U-T-T-E-R.
And we're not talking about the butter that's made that people put into cookies, which is spelled the same, the same. This was a product that was made popular back, that many years ago. Would have been 2004, maybe something around there.
Back there.
And then
I remember I went down to his store there. It was in the back of the Vancouver seed bank when I met him there, and they had a nice bar, and they had a store, like they had a refrigerator.
So you're talking about on Commercial Drive?
I think so. Yeah.
You're talking about the Pain Management Society.
Was it? Well, well, maybe it was before where the
Vancouver Seed Bank never had a Butter King lounge. No, never had a butter lounge. Upstairs, upstairs they had the dab bar.
Oh, maybe it was before the seed. Or maybe I don't know. Yeah. It was a long time ago.
I lived there.
Yeah. Well, I remember out front you would talk to somebody was at the desk.
No, you're talking about the Pain Management Society on Commercial Drive. I was the first one to work there at that desk.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes, all right.
Yeah, and then Don Briere, he worked there in the back as the manager before he started the weed stores.
Okay.
And then him and Jim started the weed stores, and then there was a dispute about the name, but Don ended up with the name. And now Don has gone on to, he had, I think, 17 weed stores in the city at its height, and others across Canada. And now with legalization, forced, no other route to go really, if you want to keep doing what you're doing, and he loves having stores.
Yep.
So he now has government licensed stores, some on the coast, and one here in Vancouver. And now he's got one in California.
Oh.
So, yeah, Don has come a long way since he and I worked at the Butter King's Pain Management Dispensary.
So, we should ask him who grows the best, California or British Columbia. I've heard
maybe he knows. I don't know if he knows.
Down there. Yeah, well,
I don't know if he knows.
He smokes. You probably.
I want to get Don back on the show.
Yeah.
They've been guests numerous times, and he said he is willing to come on and talk about some things now that they have a legal store. There's a lot of things that they're not happy about with the legal store, and I'd be thrilled if they would come on and be willing to talk about some of that. I mean, he's probably looking for ways that he can make things different and better, because they need to be different and better than they are with the legal stores for sure. He's a big fan of low barrier access.
Yep.
We're big supporters of ours all the way through. They helped get the Cannabis Substitution Program off the ground in the early days when I went to talk to my dispensary friends to see who would help with the program. Well, they were first up, and you know, they've made sure it's worked all the way through here. So, kudos to Don, and great to see that he's got you know, his empire continues.
Yeah,
you know,
it's growing.
They're still looking for a license from Health Canada to produce as well.
Okay,
and then they would like to be involved in the farm gate way of doing things.
Like Redbeard is. I've seen pictures all the time of people working, giving people jobs and stuff. So
so you know, we hope that happens, but I also hope that we're successful in shifting government regulations to be more reasonable, to be less barriers involved for people to get involved with licensed growing and producing. And that these stores can have some, you know, low barrier access section, or there can be low barrier access stores, or something like that. Legalization can still be a good thing if they incorporate low barrier access, and that's what they have to do. They have to do it. I mean, it just makes no sense to protect the rich and give up the poor, you know, to the lions. Like, this is not a barbaric society. I refuse to live in a barbaric society, and this is barbarism right now.
Wow, I wish I could build a cabin, because I'd probably just go and build a cabin somewhere, put some satellite dish on it, so I get, you know, some way to keep what's going on in the world, and not have anybody tell me what I can do or not do. Just, you know, live there with my child.
I want exactly the same thing, Lynn.
Just
I want exactly that.
Yeah,
you know, I'm on a mission.
There's lots of forest out there. We got solar power. We don't have to have power lines out there. They'll power the sun.
Man, there's so many ways to power things now. I see so much great technologies out there, and it's only going to get better from there for sure. I want the same thing, but I'm trying to live a whole life. You know, I've had my family, so I want to give back. I want to be a citizen of this world. So I got my brain wrapped around a mission. My goal is to help properly legalize cannabis. That goal I set for myself about 18 and a half years ago when I quit my job to start at the herb school. Prior to that, my goal that I wrote in my daytimer every day was that my goal was to add value to every person and situation that I encountered. So if I was going to be involved with somebody or some situation, I wanted to add value to that situation and to that person, not take any value away, or not to leave, you know, having taken something. I want to leave something there. And that served me very well throughout my life. But when I read Jack Herer's book, and at the end of it, or when I got basically to the end of chapter 7, I had that moment in time where I cried, and I cried my eyes out, and I said to myself, these corporate greedy bastards are willing to starve children to death.
Yep.
To make money, for money and power.
They don't care. Or make them work for less than nothing, right?
And I knew at that moment that I could no longer just be a carpenter working in the mainstream of society.
Yeah.
That I had to do something about this, that had been presented to me, and being the person that my mother and father raised, I had to do the right thing, and that meant that I could no longer just be a person working on some guy's house, that I had to try to do something about what had just been shown to me, that this was the worst thing going on in my world since the Holocaust.
Yep.
And I got a sense of it at that moment. I cried. I called my boss shortly after that at about 4:20 in the morning. That time became pretty relevant for me since then.
In the morning, eh?
You know, and I said, Fred, I'm really sorry, but I can't come to work. It was a long weekend, and this was the Tuesday morning when I was supposed to be coming back to work, and I had intended to go back to work, except that I had taken on this job to renovate this place that turned into the herb school, and we didn't sleep during that renovation, and I, ordered in food, and I just kept working towards the goal of getting it ready to open the doors. And it was at that moment, probably, 2, 3 in the morning, when, we were taking another break.
Yeah.
And I read that last little passage about cannabis value in the form of nutrition through the seeds.
Oh, very.
And, you can, the cannabis seed has everything in there that the human body requires nutritionally.
Sure.
It has all the fibers, the proteins, the nutrients, the vitamins, the essential fatty acids, those omega long-chain fatty acids that are so crucial to human health that we don't have in our diet properly, because the only real land source is now flax, and we get it mostly through seafood, but the combinations of the omegas aren't correct for our heart functions for the most part. So the cannabis seed has everything in the right ratios. It's exactly what we need for some strange reason. Like, why would that be? But that's what it is. And that, they say Buddha lived for 6 years eating 1 hemp seed a day. I'm sure it's a myth. It's not true. But I'm sure he had a little pouch of hemp seeds, and that's what he ate for a long period of time until he took that fat little pudgy body that he had and brought it down into that sleek, proper functioning body that he had later on in life. I'm sure that's why that happened, because he used cannabis seeds to bring his health back to proper balance. And for me, it was that, I had been 3 weeks before sitting there doing that renovation. I went to this this thing that Greenpeace put on at, not Oppenheimer, at the Lighthouse Park here in North Vancouver. They had a bunch of booths set up like any other protest event. And I spent quite a bit of time at this one booth talking about world starvation with these ladies that were working there. And the amount of children that die around this planet from starvation is horrible. It's horrifying.
I know, it's crazy.
Like, holy shit.
But we don't really focus on that because we're living our lives here. But there's a lot of people out there.
It really struck me, man. I left that event like going, holy smokes, this is so wrong. Like, wow, all
our
these
parents
children.
were right when they say eat that food because there's starving children.
There's starving children around the world. They had a sense of it too. They had gone through the Depression. They had seen the results of starvation right here in our own backyard. So now it's 3 weeks later. It's a long weekend, and I've taken on this job to renovate for David this space that's going to be used to teach people the history of the drug war and be an activist center. And I'm reading The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and I get to this chapter about the value of hemp seed for nutrition, and I'm reading this, and I'm thinking about 3 weeks ago, and I'm putting all these dots together in my brain, and what the conclusion was simply that these greedy corporate bastards are willing to starve children to death to make money, for money and power. And I just, I couldn't handle it. I was like, that's too wrong, that's just too wrong. Like, they could be, seeds, plants, life, this planet is amazing. It's so incredible how things work. One little cannabis seed properly produces a plant that will produce
or can produce thousands, tens of thousands of more seeds for more plants. Seeds that are now more adapted to the soil that they grew in and the environment around them as they grew. And 3 generations later, it's adapted to that environment and producing amazing crops of this fabulous food and clothing material, you know, fiber, all fuel, all of this amazing stuff that the cannabis plant produces, all from a tiny little seed. And you can feed people with that.
Yep.
And you could send one batch, one plane load of seeds. It wouldn't even take a plane load to some of these places that are struggling, and allow them to grow that and watch it reclaim the dry, arid soil that's there, and watch it in 3 generations produce lush crops that would provide so much value and food that you wouldn't have starving children anymore. And so, you know, that became my mission in life, and until that one's done, you know, I'm taking no other. And that's my mission, is to help properly legalize cannabis, to feed starving children and bring freedom to the world, because freedom is the most important thing. Even if you're not starving and you're healthy, if you're not free, you're in trouble as a human being. You know, you can't live a whole life, and it's not right. And then when that's the case, you have an obligation as a human being to your child and to the children of the next generation. That you've got to try to leave the world in a better place where your child and everyone is your child, like our society's children are not going to be oppressed the way that we are. So we live in an upside down, oppressed world here with a bunch of corporate greedy bastards who have manipulated our governance to the point where we are enslaved into policies that drive drug addiction and cannabis prohibition and overtaxation and homelessness and corruption out the yin-yang with money laundering, and now gambling is back in our society in ways that it shouldn't be, and on it goes. We live in a world that needs to get fixed, you know, and so as human beings, if that's the generation that you're born into, in my opinion, these are just my opinions, by the way, I'm nobody, so your opinion be whatever your opinion is. You're watching my show, these are my opinions. My opinion is that as a human being, if your society's messed up, you can't just ignore it. You can't just, have children and send them off into this fucked up society and say you're on your own. You know, you have an obligation to try to help with the environment that our children are going to be moving forward through. We all do. And until we got it right, until we really have public servants, and until we have policies that are all about people before profits, then we got to work at this, you know, because it's murder, and people are dying, and people are struggling, and people are suffering so badly. Come down here and have a look for yourself at the visible ones, and then get a sense of the invisible ones, and realize that everybody's got their struggles, you know, some visibly and really traumatized and really openly unable to hide their struggles, but most people struggling and not showing it because they hurt either emotionally or physically in ways that they don't say nothing about. Men don't say much about the pain that they're in most of the time. Most men, they
don't know.
You only know that men are in pain around this neighborhood most of the time because you can see it. They can't stand up straight. They can't walk hardly at all. You know, they're grimacing. Their hands. You look at them, and their hands are all messed up, and you think, "Oh, that must be painful."
It's very
People
painful.
don't tell most of the time about what's hurting them. And if it's emotional pain, if you've just been, you know, hurt badly throughout your life,
about all the indigenous,
it's not okay to talk about it. And we're getting more and more where people talk about it, and maybe that's even becoming too much of a thing. You know, got to be careful about overcorrecting with things, right? We don't want a weak population as well. We don't want to coddle everybody, and you know, everybody's got mental illness and everybody's got pain. No, but we do need to recognize, each of us as individuals, that we don't know anybody else's situation. That other people can be in pain, can be in drama and trauma, and not show it, and not talk about it, and just accept for whatever, you know, is. Like, you know, give people a lot of slack, because you never know, right? That's my opinion. That's how I try to be nice, and I think being nice is a way to, you know, if you're nice to other people,
the world a better place, day by day. That's it.
Well, so here, what we were going to do on the show today was get a bit of a sense of what's going on here with the project, and to go outside and see if we can talk to some of the people out there a little bit. And I think we should do that.
All right.
We covered just about everything except there's Cannabis Day coming up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a thing here in Vancouver for sure. Thornton Park is a happening place. Come up and set up a booth. There's no booth charges, as always, on Cannabis Day. And I think there will probably be some educational entertainment and you know, other things. If not, it'll be a great community of people set up with cannabis supplies. But no, there's going to be an event there for sure. This is talking all about it. What does it say here? 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
10 to 10.
At Thornton Park, unceded territory of the Coast Salish. Friday, July 1st, of course. No vendor fees. Open to all. These are family events for sure. Landlord will be the Grand Marshal, and he's sanctioning this event at Thornton Park there. We have the Healing Wave and Cannabis Substitution Program represented on their flyer. That's really good. I appreciate that. We appreciate any help from anybody that's you know, going to help us with more exposure, more education about what
Who do they get a hold of?
What to do with this? Well, there's no one to get a hold of.
Well, no, don't they?
There's no vendor fees.
So
there's no spot. First come, first serve.
Gotcha.
Yeah, nobody's holding any spots other than we're going to hold the spot for where the stage will be.
Yes, yeah.
You know, there'll be some amplification and some stage and some speeches and some music and another fun Cannabis Day, I'm sure, as we've had so many of them there already.
July is always nice weather.
So July 1st, Cannabis Day in Vancouver. I don't know what's going on in other parts of the world. I think other places in the world, like Kimron, maybe you guys should have a Cannabis Day there. Any excuse for a cannabis event is a good one. So other parts of the international marketplace and global family of people, you want to have a Cannabis Day, why not? You know, it doesn't have to be anything to do with Canada. It just happens that Cannabis Day sounds a little bit like Canada Day, and it happens to have originated in Canada.
Yeah.
But really, it's just a day for cannabis. So July 1st, International Cannabis Day.
Nova Scotia has them.
Well, that's also part of Canada.
Yeah, okay.
You know? I'm talking internationally here.
Oh, internationally.
That,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
I think that it's a thing.
California,
that, you know,
Cannabis
it
Day.
originated in Canada.
Yeah.
You know, it's called Cannabis Day. It was placed on the day that eventually became Canada Day because we had Cannabis Day on Dominion Day before it was Canada Day.
Yeah.
So we didn't just like play with the name or nothing. Cannabis Day was going on as a thing on the July 1st weekend. Nothing to do with Dominion Day other than, hey, hell, Dominion, let's stop prohibiting weed, as always. But, yeah, Cannabis Day should be a thing around the world. Why not? Why not? 420 should be a thing around the world. Cannabis Day should be a thing around the world. It's certainly going to be happening here in Vancouver. There may even be other ones, but we'll talk about that maybe later.
All right.
So you want to go outside?
Yeah.
All right.
Am I going with you?
Sure, why not?
All right, well.
And,
Put my jacket on.
as always, I'm later than they thought I would be, but that's all right. That's what happens when you have the 420 session. One goes in hand with the other.
Good,
if it's a good 420 session, then it goes later than you would normally have thought it might. All right. So here we are. It's a cloudy day in Vancouver, so it's kind of a gray day, but it's a day where it's not raining, so that's always good. And it's a day without a police raid, so that's a great day in Vancouver. And that's what we said for quite a while anyway, is that any day without a raid is a good day. And that went on for, well, over a year and a half in the RV there. And then, well, the raid happened, and that day wasn't a very good day. And now every day without a raid is a great day. So we're really excited that we get to have another day of not being raided. But so what's going on? is we've got a different vehicle, shall we say, from the RV. We had the beautiful ganja mobile that's now in police custody, being ransacked, I am sure, and they're ripping out everything to find all the hidden whatevers in the whatevers, although we didn't hide anything and they don't have to tear it apart. But you know, we'll see if I ever get that back again. But in the meantime, now we've switched to this one, which has much more air conditioning. It's got a lot more headroom. You can see it right here. It's portable. Yeah. You know, it's a 4-foot drive, because if you got 4 people with feet, you can just pick up the corners and march it to wherever you like. So this is the new mobile, but it's no longer the ganja mobile. This is the protest tent. So you know, they did what they did, and now we're protesting. So we still have the cannabis substitution sign, but we have some other signs as well. We're going to take you out into traffic, so fasten your seatbelts if you will. Be a little bit careful, it can get dicey. There's a fair bit of traffic coming up the road here. And so yeah, here we go. So the reason I wanted to take you down here is because, as we've shown you in other episodes, you know, I'm all about signs. I like having signs, but my signs are a little more angry now than they used to be. Now we talk about the 6 people that die every day in this area. We talk about how the CSP solution is the best solution of all the harm reduction options that are here. The CSP is the best one, and with more CSP, we'd have a lot less of these guys here. And they know that as well. They're all about the city all day. So easy access to high-dose cannabis edibles is what saves lives. That's an easy message. People need to understand that. And so, you know, this is the message that we want, is that cannabis substitution is the best option as a harm reduction strategy. It certainly needs to be included in the toolbox of strategies for sure as being the best one. And that if they did that, they would save lives. But Trudeau, Mr. Cartel himself, with his legalization, he didn't include the poor people and the sick people in that legalization. And that's why it was a lie, because he said the sick people, the people that needed to access cannabis, would have no trouble at all. He's on tape saying that. He's also on tape saying that his legalization was going to put an end to the underground marketplace for cannabis because he would underprice them and his quality would be better than theirs. Well, that's been a bunch of crap. It couldn't be more farther from the truth at all. And so, legalization. And now the VPD trying to stop access to cannabis only to protect corporate greed, because they're certainly not protecting the people in the neighborhood by shutting down the access to cannabis. That's for sure. The cannabis is not dangerous. Prohibition is dangerous. And those guys, they should be protecting us, not the corporation. So we got some people here. Hey, how you doing? You want to talk to us? Tell us a little bit?
Sure.
So first off, what's your name?
My name is Ellie.
Ellie? That's it? Just Ellie?
My name is Ellie. I'm a downtown east side lived experience person. I've lived most of my life on the streets, and I enjoy to come to the CSP because it's easy access. No, I do need it, and I'm highly traumatized from the medical system. I find it to be degrading and causing post-traumatic stress. So part of that is there are people who don't want to be identified. They're running away from their abusers, whatever it might be. And so for that reason, they don't get ID. And so we need to honor that the people in this world that don't have ID. And so this project, it serves those people. And that's probably one of the great issues. They may have said, you know, oh, that's the problem because it's unregulated. Well, actually, no, I feel safer here than, for instance, I could go, I'm making enough, I could go to a dispensary on, let's say, West Broadway, pay $20 per hour, right? Get some real good premium shit. But the problem with that is, I'm about the healing, right? I want to see healing, I want to see growth, and I want to see our overdoses minimalized. And I think that this is paramount to our harm reduction in the DTS. This exact project. Every other one just misses the work a little bit. This one is transparent, accountable. You literally can see everything they have on the street. I know they're not keeping any on the top for you, whoever it might be. And I gotta be quite honest, it's pretty good weed for the price I pay. That's also another good thing. And they do have a program that gets you free weed if you're really in need, which it's important to understand that piece is still there, but it must be asked for. And that's a right to service sort of thing. So I was really upset when I come along and I find this because when the bomb's gone, because it isn't everything I needed to get on my life. And with the post-traumatic stress from the police, the BPD, and the RCP in the system, I don't feel positive going into a dispensary where I'm just a number. I spent too much of my life being just a number. Right? This is about who I am, and they honor who we are. They know who we are. They care. I could come and have a bad day. They lift my spirits as an outreach worker, and I don't make much. I'm gonna get cheered up.
So you've been involved with Vandu?
Oh yeah, I've been involved with Vandu. I'm on the board of the Carnegie.
So you've seen a lot of people that have had your type of lived experiences as well?
Absolutely, and they are totally urging to reinstate the actual place. You know, like we want to even up and further the ante. Personally, I don't want to just see this back in the van. I want to see it in a space. You know,
and I want more than one space.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Very
and
cool.
How come we can get a space? How come we can do an ops? I could go and do an ops, and yet. And trust me, I have. I helped to put in last ops at Oppenheimer Park in the last encampment in 2018. It was hard to put in. It served over 500 people a day, but I'm here for Neil today, not that. My point is, without this, a lot of those ops people would have been dead. Our volunteers rely on this program. They find their spirit here, their humor. You know, they're also providing a social service because a lot of us are outcasts. So when we come to this area, when we come to as customers, we're taken just as seriously. That's those West Enders, and that's the kind of dispensary I want. I don't want a dispensary that's government sanctioned. I want a dispensary that speaks to the heart of what we need, which obviously the government's missing because we keep dying at such an unprecedented rate. So why would they take the one thing that can save our lives in the middle of poison drug epidemics? It just seems totally like manslaughter, completely a civil case, and I'm sure the liability on it would be a nightmare. And in the future it could be a class action, right? But I know I'm speaking to the pulpit here. Bring back this project and respect the cannabis movement. We fought for it, and it's atrocious that we aren't up to date on these things. These are the paramount. You know, we said, okay, we're going to legalize cannabis, we're all going to have good access, and boy, I was so fucking excited till I realized what that means. This is what legalizing weed means to me. I kicked out dispensary, the only one I can go to. That's what legalized weed. Before they did this legal, like on the sign, legalization, right? We were selling it, we were okay. But all of a sudden they got to bring in this bullshit paperwork.
And now they're cracking down. So.
You know? Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Big fan, and urge everyone to get involved. Get involved. Write letters to Vancouver City. Write letters to every policymaker you can think of about the Cannabis Substitution Project.
Well, thank you so much. So, Andrew, can we talk to you for a minute?
Sure, I can.
So you have turned your life around with the Cannabis Substitution Program, but not really, because your experience with cannabis came before that when it helped you to get off of some substance. Is that true? Tell us your story.
Yeah, I came down. I've been down here for, I don't know, I've been in my place right now since 2006, December. And before that, I went through treatment for 3 months. I went through detox. I was down here doing crack cocaine. It's a hard road. Doing crack cocaine is a hard road down here. Everybody lives in hotels, and some people are on the street. And, you know, it's an epidemic down here of drugs down here. It's hard. They say it's like a 9-to-5 job. When I was down here, it was like a job to go get your drugs down here on the street, right? You wake up, you wonder where you're going to get your first dollar from when you wake up. Are you going to borrow it today, or are you going to steal the food? Are you going to steal your way to get some money, or are you going to borrow it, or are you going to go do some find some work today. It's hard down here. I did marijuana. I used to smoke marijuana all the time. And the way marijuana made me feel is different than the way cocaine makes you feel. Cocaine's a hard drug. You want more and you spend all your money. Marijuana won't make you spend all your money. Marijuana is good for you. Marijuana is good for you. And I've been with the Bandu. I did treatment. I did detox. I did treatment for 3 months. I've done all the AAs. I've done NA. I've done all the meetings. But the one you want to go to is marijuana. If you still want to do some what they say marijuana is called a drug out here on the streets, people call it a drug, but it's a soft drug. If you still want to do marijuana, that's okay. If you're trying to get off the other stuff, marijuana edibles will help you. It's not so much smoking it. Smoking is nice, but the edibles work the whole body, and the whole body is what you want. If you're going through withdrawal, you can sleep through. You can actually take enough edibles and get the dose you want. You can actually sleep through your withdrawal and come out of what you're on. Because it's a hard road down here. Vancouver is a hard road down here on Hastings to get drugs. People are dying down here. And I worked for the Cannabis Substitution Project when it started. It was over at Bandu when it started. I took over from Ted Scully. He found somebody that he could trust, and I came into play. And we used to give edibles out to about 250 to 300 people every Thursday and Saturday. No, now it's Thursdays and Sundays. It used to be Saturdays. I would take the weed home to my place and I'd roll a couple hundred joints and I'd come back with the rest of the weed and I'd have the rest of the people roll. We had lots of volunteers and it was very successful. Everybody would wait hours and hours.
So when you say successful, you're saying it's successful because a lot of people used it in ways that were positive for them, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that came down to Bandu and they'd wait because this is what they need to use. They don't want to use the hard drugs. They don't want to use the drugs from your doctor, right? Yeah. They want to use the edibles because they work for it, right?
So you've really directly seen the effects with all the people you've been helping. Yeah. And you know better than any of us these people that are part of the program because you're the one who mostly gives them their 420. So you've seen them, you know how it helps them, you hear what they have to say every day.
I hear what they have to say and what edibles work for them and ask if I had either this or that left, right?
And lots of them will say that cannabis saved their life.
Oh, sure it does. I have one lady
it's a common statement.
I have one lady that takes 50 milligram pills and she said it turned her life around.
Yeah.
Right? There is success in marijuana. You don't have to really work a program.
So you would say that having easy access to cannabis is definitely in the public's interest?
Well, very much so. But cannabis can save the city. If they really look at it, cannabis can save the city. It can save the people on the streets and give them a better life than they got now and a chance to live. All the stores around here would make money because everybody's going to be hungry and they're going to spend their money there. And the next day when you wake up, when you do drugs, certain drugs, you wake up the next day, you have no money. You get your check, you cash it, and put the money in your pocket, but through the day, you spent all your money. That cocaine can make you spend all your money. The next day you wake up and you have no money and you feel bad. You feel real bad. But there's nothing you can do about it. Now cannabis will change that. You won't spend all your money. Your appetite will come up. You'll feel better. You won't be in a daze all the time because you won't be sick all the time. You won't be in a daze all the time. Life will get better. You can even get a job. You can change your life, right?
Very cool.
And it's changed my life.
I appreciate that very much.
I have 268 people on my list, right? And they're all getting 420 milligrams every 4 days, and everybody loves it, right? I have many stories of people that have changed their lives, right?
Very good. I appreciate that, Andrew.
No
Thank
problem.
you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon. So, Casey, come on over here. You all remember Casey? She's been on the show numerous times here. She's going to help me here. You found another gentleman who wants to talk to us a little bit?
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Andrew Griszka, and when I was a young person, in my early 20s, had severe car accident, and living with pain was a struggle for many years. Last 11 years, instead of using Tylenol-3, any pain medication, or typical medical approach from our doctors or something, never considered marijuana. I was told that it won't solve the issue, but will help maintaining the healthy life. And 11 years, huge change. Using cannabis, and thanks to subsidize cannabis by the friendly people here, it's much easier on my budget. Maintaining fit, riding the bike for the last 8-9 years, thanks to cannabis. Doesn't solve the pain totally, but maintain comfortable level. So you can do things. You can even work a little bit. You can. The most important for me is to maintain fit, skinny, and healthy. I'm over 60, and this is just last few years very helpful. I finally recovered a little bit. Yes. I would like to mention one thing about subsidy on east side for cannabis for people like me who are on disability or have limited income, that other dispensaries are charging enormous amount of money people for cannabis, which I wouldn't be able to eat, I wouldn't be able to afford. These people provide reasonable or very often even free cannabis to stay alive, to maintain healthy living. And I have only great things to say about the subsidy for cannabis in here, and all the people who volunteer here are big heart. Thank you very much. That's all I can say. Thank you so very much. Thanks again. Yes. Thank you. And free cannabis and no police violence against us. We not violent people. We only want a reasonably priced cannabis. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we have another person here that's willing to talk to us. Come on over here.
Right.
Hello.
Thank you. Robert?
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Robert.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good to see you. Thank you for being here. I've been coming here for about 2 weeks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I like the prices and the yeah, and the quality is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. How does cannabis help you?
Well, I don't like to call it cannabis. I like to call it either marijuana or just because sometimes cannabis has a negative name. I think it's a bit of a factor. But I've been studying grade 10. I passed science by smoking 2 joints before my science class because I couldn't get a biochemical equation. And my tutor said just smoke weed before class. That's a secret story, but yeah, and that was and I passed science 10 that year.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it does. I believe that it's medicinal qualities and that opens the mind. For some people, it can be a bit of too much, you know what I mean, or it can. But for me, every day.
Right on.
Cheers.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
No worries,
That's very
and
helpful.
thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have another young lady that is very familiar with our project that can probably attest to a number of different things. Come on in here. You all know this particular person. Hi, Jen. So yeah, you've had a relationship that with some other substances that cannabis has helped you with as well prior to your introduction to the program. So what's that about?
Well, more so helped me after the program. So I was still smoking cigarettes and still on high doses of opiates when I started at the program.
But you knew that cannabis was helping you. That's why you came to that lineup that day, right? For sure. Yeah. So was that just kind of the start of your journey of understanding how valuable cannabis could be to you?
It was a big part of it, for sure. Yeah.
So then you're just in a lineup getting some free cannabis because somebody told you that you could do that, and then one thing leads to another, and now you're rolling joints for the people, and now you're packaging stuff, and
you know, it's been a long, long run. You've seen a lot of people that have, you know, benefited from our program here. What sort of things can you tell us about the people that you remember that have impacted you in the way that cannabis has impacted them?
I think the first one that sticks out was Birdman. Really sweet older native man with a walker that liked to make bird sounds.
Yeah.
Hence the nickname Birdman. And a lot of times, like, he couldn't handle the lineup. It was just too painful for him. Because a lot of people would sit there for a few hours to make sure that they had a good spot near the front of the line. And so when he couldn't make it, I would give him stuff at my other job, which was a drop-in center in the neighborhood. And like, it would make him cry. Like, he was so excited to be able to get some pain relief that it would bring him to tears. So. But yeah, he passed away. So. Can't remember what he died from, but
I think it was probably an overdose, but I'm not sure.
But he was a really sweet man, I miss him.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that really appreciated what we were doing there.
Yep.
For sure. We've heard that so much.
That's where I met Bob, too.
Right?
A lot of people I met there.
So, anyway, now how do you feel about the VPD raiding us? And
I think it's ridiculous because you can literally buy all the shit that'll kill you at the corner right over there in broad daylight, and the cops don't stop that. But that tells you what their priorities are. You know, they don't want the drug war to end. They'd all be without a job. So why on earth would they want it to end? Might as well keep people addicted and dying and keep the money going with the drug war. So
you think that's what's going on behind Health Canada's delays as well? Eh?
Oh, definitely. You'd wipe out an entire industry of different workers if there was no more addiction. You barely need cops, you barely need courts, you wouldn't need probation officers, lawyers as much. Like, there's so many people you wouldn't really need anymore.
Right. So anyway, we'll keep up the fight, and I don't know what else to say, but you know, there's nothing else that we can do as a society that started this program. We have to keep doing this program. I don't know that any human being that had an ounce of conscience could stop at this point. So it seems like the most craziest thing to me that I seem to be at odds with a government and a police department where I know that I'm here rescuing people that are stuck in horrible ways during a public health emergency, and it's the right thing to do. There's just absolutely no question in my mind whatsoever. Yet the government says you can't do it. If you did it our way, maybe you could do some, you know, scaled down version of it. But in the meantime, until we tell you you can, you got to stop doing it. That's impossible. That's just absolutely impossible. I wouldn't be able to sleep with myself at night. So here I am, you know, up against the cops and the government, being threatened and diminished in pretty serious ways here. This is a horrible thing. I wish there was more people in the neighborhood right now that talk to us. Do we have somebody else that wants to say something? Sure, let's do that. You've had some experience with what we're doing here? Yeah. Has it helped you?
Can we move over a bit? I just don't want to block anyone who needs to get...
Sorry, just a sec. Come on over here and say that again.
Yeah, they help me out once a day. Like, I come here, walk by, and they're still here, and they help me out. I don't mind these guys here.
So how does it help you?
I got a spina bifida,
right?
And I get like my back hurts a lot.
Right.
I got broken finger.
So what are you using? Is it the joints?
The pain away, yeah, the joints, yeah.
What about edibles? Have you tried?
I tried a couple of them, yeah, they helped, yeah.
They helped as well?
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay, I gotta go pick up my truck.
Have you tried the government stores?
No.
Okay, well.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Hasn't tried the government stores. I think that's probably true for most of the people around here because they are rather expensive. They're rather elitist for sure. They're spending a lot of money in those stores. It's funny, you know, there's two different types of government licensed stores that are operating here in British Columbia. There's those that are run by people that put in and asked for licenses and applied and got them. And then there's those that are just run by the government themselves. And the ones that are run by the government themselves, they have a distinct advantage over the other ones that are owned by mom and pop or whoever. They get a 15% break on the pricing,
and they get to use taxpayer dollars to refurnish the stores, to renovate, to pay the rent, and all of that kind of stuff. So there's really, I just can't put my finger on the right word to talk about, but back in the day, you know, I remember watching lots of shows about the FBI breaking up monopolies, and there was protection rackets, and there was gangsters that, you know, would protect their turf, and, you know, all the rest of that. And I thought that was all completely illegal, and yet here we are. Our governments are involved in protecting a monopoly that profits them, and using tax dollars to protect that monopoly and to exclude other people from what it is that they're doing. I mean, this has got to be so wrong on so many levels. I really hope that at some point it gets turned around. We may be on that journey. Now that I've been charged, we've been taken down with the VPD raid, and they seized our vehicle. I need to go to court on July 20th here as far as it goes right now. I mean, I keep thinking they're just going to drop these charges and give us back our vehicle. I really hope that happens, but it might not. So this is the time when we really need to mobilize to make sure that this doesn't get squashed by government and made to go away. Whatever that might take to do. They'll have to put me in a cage, and even then I probably would still figure out a way to use Morse code to get followers to keep doing it. I don't know. But, you know, it's just so crazy and ridiculous, but we live in a crazy and ridiculous world, and it's not just silly, it's dangerous as hell, and there's lives at stake, and it's real blood and guts, and what's going on here is ruining people's lives, it's ruining families, and we can stop it. We can really at least put some brakes on it if we can get government back in line a little bit, if we can get them to agree to allow for low barrier access in community cannabis stores that care about the communities that they're in, and bring to the people what they need based on what the people need and not on how much profit they can make. So we can make a difference here. We need all the help that we can get. Now is the time. If you've been, you know, wondering if maybe you should or shouldn't write a letter or make a phone call or send an email, well, now is the time. This is what you've probably been waiting for, is to see whether or not you need to do that, whether or not we're going to get that license and the government's going to be on board with us, or whether or not the police are going to come in and arrest us all and seize our vehicle and try to stop what we're doing. And the latter has happened, unfortunately. So now is the time. We need letters. We need letters to government. We need letters to media. We need letters to the police. Anything you can do would be appreciated, and we need as much as we can. So thank you for watching. Please spread this around. We got one more. We got somebody else. Yeah, sure. Hi, Joel. You've been accessing what we're doing here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about all this stuff?
Honestly, first they closed down the Blue Door, and I just got really sort of pent up about that, really upset. And I was expecting it to only be temporary and like only be for like maybe like 1 or 2 weeks or something. And then I kept making trips down here, and it's still closed. So, and it's just really ticked me off, because that's like one of the main places for everybody. Like, people need their medicine. It's like an essential, like in people's lives, you know. Like, and for me, how it plays an important role in my life is, excuse me, is like helps me work up an appetite when I'm not hungry, and then also I eat a lot too. So, but yeah, when I'm not hungry, then I'll help me work up an appetite like that, and helps me get to sleep like that. You know, good times, good laughs with good people, and yeah, it's just like really nice to be able to smoke the MJ herb and stuff. But
so you're not right from this particular area?
Yes, born and raised in this area. This is my hood.
Okay.
This is my hood.
This is your hood.
Yes,
here.
this is my hood.
Okay.
So I've been coming down here to the Blue Door since before I was even legal. And legal now, and like not being able to go to one of my favorite spots for marijuana and stuff for the best prices, and what they just did with the police did with the van too. That was also a newfound gem, but now it's closed down. So
no, we're not. We just have a different vehicle.
Yeah.
Right here.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Air conditioned, got more headroom.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
it's a little slower on the road, but you know, it's okay. Yeah. It's not really okay. Yeah. But we haven't stopped. We still are here. We're doing everything we were from the vehicle, and we'll continue to do that. What else was I going to ask you? Oh, have you tried the legal stores?
Oh yes, I've tried the legal stores, but those ones are like charge you right up the ass, man. It's just like the prices are so crazy. They're just like way up there. Like freaking, it's like
so you've
$70 for like fucking what is it called? For an eighth and stuff. That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
And how is the
How do they expect everybody to be able to afford that stuff? These places are government run, and you know, folks like aren't wanting to having to spend that much, but we have to. It's no choice. We've got no choice because they're shutting down all the available places that are easier access and better priced. So it's kind of leaving us at a loss, you know. So.
And there are guys on the corner over there at $10 a gram, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's not as good as certain places like this and Boudoir and so on and so forth.
There's not much of a selection.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't really know what you're getting. You don't know who these people are. And $10 a gram is still a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. 5, 6 is more within everybody's price range. You know, that makes everybody
happy. How do you like
happy.
our $1 grams? Did you get some of that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Everybody likes that.
It's wicked cool.
They say it's a special. I mean, it's not special. We have it every day. It's only special if you only have it once in a while.
Yeah.
We have it every day, $1 grams. Right now we have pink skunk, and that's good, isn't it?
I've smoked that stuff too. It's really good.
It's really good.
It's a really good herb.
So yeah, we're trying to do what the neighborhood needs, and the government's trying to do what the corporate big boys want.
Yeah.
And we got a big clash going on. So thank you very much for your comments. Anything else you'd like to say?
I just really hope all of this sort of, you know, gets back in the works again and stuff like that, and everything gets back to normal with the weed industry in this area, this neighborhood and everything, because, you know, they'll bring life like that much more closer to feeling normal and everything. So I just really hope that it all gets back to the usual. So
thank you so much for taking
Thank you
the time
so much,
to
guys,
say
for being here. I really appreciate that too. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. And I do really mean thank you for saying that, because that's what we hear all the time. That's what we get from everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Over 900 people have signed our petitions in under 2 weeks. We had a couple of days where we got rained out. We were still here, but there was one day in particular we couldn't put the tent up at all. It was just too windy. And so we were standing on the sidewalk by the lane there, making sure that everybody that came by got what they were looking for. But what we get is just a constant stream of people that are thanking us so much for being here. Health Canada needs to see that. Health Canada needs to know that. This is imperative that we be here. If we're not here, these people that are thanking us so much for being here are in a lot of trouble. Like she said, she was panicked about what was going on with the blue door. She was very upset about it, because then what are they supposed to do? And it's not right that a government or public servants would put vulnerable, struggling people into a position where they're unhappy, their needs are not being met, they're struggling and suffering. And it's caused by government action against the supplying of a simple herb that could solve the problem. So I happen to be on the leading edge of the most ridiculous and outrageous story ever to be told about just how corrupt this so-called free democratic society really is, and how enslaved the people really are, who can't even get the government to let them have some herbs baked into a brownie so that they can stop using the drugs that the government sanctions and clean their lives up. It is a terrible story that I wish I didn't have to tell every week, but that's just the way it is. And I guess that's it. We're done. We've kind of taken up our time. We could tell you so many more stories. We probably should do a live stream all day long, but most of the people that were asked if they wanted to be interviewed and say a few words really don't want to. They really don't trust government. They've been hurt too much already, and they're afraid. And that's the problem. People living in fear of their governments, in fear of the police, and on all of this stuff is not the way we're supposed to be living in our free society here. We need to do something about it. For generations to come, we need to do something about it. This is how we start doing something about it. If we can't get this one done, we won't get any of it done. If they can prohibit and restrict and demonize and stigmatize the use of nature's best herbal medicine for human beings, then we are certainly not free, and we're in trouble as we move forward in the world with that being the way that it is. So here's an opportunity. Write a letter, make a phone call, send an email, talk to somebody, go on down to your government office or your media outlet. Let's try to straighten the world out. You can be part of it.
feels great if we do. Can you imagine one day we get her done, we all get to celebrate, and then 420 is really a celebration and not a protest all around the world, and all our brothers and sisters live in peace and inhale the vapors of the magical sacred herb and have a loving life. Wouldn't that be nice? I hope we can get that. So we'll talk to you about it next week. We'll see what happens. Possibility of more developments, or even if we're still here, that's kind of a major development, that we could still last another week under a tent and under threat and under siege. We'll see how it goes. Love your friends, love your family, love yourself, and the most important thing, have as much fun as you can. See you next week.